we were talking about Donald Trump, and the talk of the last couple of weeks has been a young lady named Michaelah Montgomery. Michaelah Montgomery, if you don't know, she was the young lady who hugged Donald Trump at the Chick-fil-A and it went viral. So, with that being said, she went viral, and flash forward, she spoke at Donald Trump's rally down in Atlanta. And I thought she did a really, really good job. She seemed genuine. She was hype, you know.
Yeah.
She was real hype, which is good. It's a rally,
Absolutely,
It
yeah.
was really hype, but it was hype in a good way, right? It wasn't how we have to always portray Black women. So I really liked it, but she got backlash for that.
Yeah.
And now she's contributing on different news networks, but she went on CNN. I'm sorry, not CNN. She went on C-SPAN, and she had an interview there. She's commentating, talking to the host. And what ends up happening is they had callers call in, and these were some of the rudest callers I've ever seen in my life.
Okay.
And I do mean some of the rudest callers. And I'm almost for certain if she was liberal, they wouldn't have let these calls fly, right?
Right.
But I'm gonna play one of the calls that I just thought was terrible. I don't even know why C-SPAN let this play, but I thought the call was terrible because of how he was speaking to her. And any other time, oh, you can't speak to a woman like that. You can't speak to a Black woman like that. But this was allowed to fly. And I think it was sincerely because she's conservative. So I'm going to go ahead and play it, and then we'll come back and you can tell me your thoughts.
Sam in Rome, Georgia, Democrat. Hi, Sam.
Hi, good morning. And I have a question I want to ask her first. And then if you will indulge me, I do have a comment I'd like to make after I hear her question, her answer to my question.
Sure, go ahead.
Before we get into it, too, remember she did all that complaining about the lack of education, but we also have a Republican governor here who had a hand in that as well. So it goes both ways. But anyway, I want to ask her, she touts herself as a smart person, so let's test it. What is the mitigating factor that made the Democratic South turn over to the Republican Party? And I'm waiting for your answer.
What made the Democratic South turn over to the Republican Party?
What is the mitigating?
I don't know what answer you're looking for, and I wouldn't know how to answer that. But I can say, again, I only speak to my personal experiences, sir. So for people to question my intelligence as if my life is somehow invalid is very interesting to me.
So Sam, go ahead with your point.
Yes,
I believe you're talking about the Civil Rights Act.
The answer to the question is the Civil Rights Act.
The same Civil Rights Act that was authored by Republicans? Okay.
Can I finish, please?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The act that gave you the right to sit in the chair that you're sitting in right now and vote. People in the city that you just moved into 10 years ago died for that cause. There are people still fighting for that same cause as we speak. That in America, they were in the southern part of this state to which I live and I love. They caught people trying to fake the electors in this state in the Republican Party.
We also caught illegals with IDs and trying to vote, but I guess we won't acknowledge that.
If you will look at the history, to which I'm sure you claim to know or you do know, the history of your state, you should be aware that people have died for the cause to vote. And now the people that
also died for the cause for us to read.
Hold on, Kayla, let him finish.
May I finish, if it's okay? Your mother should have taught you a little better than to interrupt.
All right, Sam, just go ahead and finish your point.
Thank you.
But the people that have died for this cause are still fighting for the same cause. Now, it's okay if you want to be Republican or Democrat, but not these Republicans. They are of a different ilk. They are of a different structure. They are the same structure that left the Democratic Party to come to the now Republican Party. And that's my comment.
All right,
Thank
Sam.
you.
Go ahead,
All
Michaelah.
right, so let's start with the 1964 Civil Rights Act, or the Voting Rights Act, correct? That was all a ploy by Lyndon B. Johnson to get Black people to support the Democratic Party for the next 200 years. And unfortunately, the tactic worked because, much like you heard our caller say, they're still fighting for the right to vote. There's not one American citizen without a felony who does not have the right to vote. All you need is an ID and you can go vote. He also didn't acknowledge the fact that while he's saying we had fake electors, we also had fake citizens going to vote in our election. So, of course, I guess we just won't talk about election integrity in that sense. Next, the ploy to get Black people to vote for them for the next 200 years was a fear tactic because, again, Black people then thought that if they did not vote Democrat, they would lose their right to vote. And even though Ronald Reagan came in and didn't take away Black people's right to vote, for whatever reason, Democrats every election season get up and talk voter suppression, protect your right to vote. Black people died for the right to vote. Black people also died for the right to read. So I wish a lot of you would please go read the Willie Lynch letters. I wish a lot of you would go read more about Jim Crow and how, the systems were set up to basically make us believe that we were victims for the rest of our life. So now let's talk about the migrant issue and how it relates to the 1964 Voting Rights Act, correct? The Voting Rights Act was put in place so that Black people would be a loyal Democratic voting base. Black people are now leaving the Democratic Party.
Michaelah, you're saying that the only reason the Civil Rights Act was passed was for votes?
No. The major portion of said legislation was the fact that it gave Black people the right to vote, right? And Democrats touted the fact that they gave Black people the right to vote. They then used fear-mongering to make Black people believe that if they did not vote Democrat, they would lose their right to vote and whatever other rights and resources that were granted to them by these Democrats, correct? Now that you see Black people leaving the Democratic Party, now that you see Black people calling out the Democratic Party, now that you see Black people tired of living in the same conditions that they were in when the bill was signed, they no longer have that loyal voting base. So you know what they're doing now? Now they're opening the borders. They're letting these migrants in. They're giving them these welcome packages full of food stamps, housing assistance, whatever else, that housing and clothing and whatever else it is maybe that they need in order to come over here and live comfortably. Why? Because now when you have these illegal migrants coming over here, and it's clear that the Republicans are like, no, get them out. Now you have a new loyal voting base who's like, oh God, if we don't vote for the Democrats, we're not only going to lose our right to vote, but we're possibly going to lose our citizenship as well. It's never been a thing where we're going to do this for the betterment of the Black community or the Latino community. It's always been, we're going to do this so that we can stay in power and we're going to manipulate the masses into believing that we are for them. And even though they will continue to vote for us, we will never do anything for them, but we will play on their feelings for stuff that we did 60 years ago.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh man, I'm glad she was able to hold her composure. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it was muted.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
So yeah, that was a lot. That was a lot. Like,
That made me mad for her.
Yeah, that made me extremely mad, right? Because when I looked at it, right, I was just saying, okay, this is supposed to be a call-in show, right? But they not only let the callers drag her, and she had to sit there and take it. A lot of the callers were just calling in to just tell her basically that she's, she's a traitor, she's a sellout, things like that. And I'm just like, it's funny because this is a Black woman. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. This is a Black woman. And it's okay to attack a Black woman if you're on the quote unquote wrong side. But if she had been a Democrat, it would have been protect Black women. Don't talk to her like that. Oh my God, this is racist. This is misogynistic. If he's the same color, they can't use racist. So they, misogynistic. This is that. So I just felt that, when you see stuff like this, it goes to the point of, is the Black community and preferably Black women, are they really not a monolith? Because they're starting to look like a monolith if you don't acquiesce to the liberals.
Yeah.
What you think?
I mean, I agree. I mean, you know, a lot of the same type of, you know, attitude and energy that, you know, she's seeing and getting, that's a lot of the stuff that I see and get all the time, you know, like, again, this is over since like, well, I started like publicly like posting about my feelings in like 2019, 2020-ish. And literally like people from high school, family members, like everybody. I've had like my manager at work before tell me that she saw me on YouTube and, you know, that was an issue. It's just like it really does seem like, and I've said this before, it seems like you just said, like if you don't acquiesce and agree to and just bow down to whatever the mass of Black people agree with, you're automatically against Black people as a whole. And it's just like, it's showing. And I'm trying to understand really, I know what the media is trying to do, but I'm trying to understand from like someone intellectual, how can anybody see stuff like that and still be like, oh, this is a positive, you know, like this. I just, there's nothing cognitive, there's nothing actual concrete going on in these conversations. It's literally, like you said, this is just emotional bashing. This is a whole bunch of grown adults who, again, are raising children. You know, these are people that are working in our society every day, and I'm supposed to put my life into your hands, but because I don't agree with what you're saying, now all of a sudden anything I say is wrong and incorrect or based out of hate. And it's just like, why can't y'all just like, it just seems like there's no like critical thinking happening. Like nobody's like,
there's none
having like a real life thought process. Like,
there's none.
I'm not seeing it.
There's none at all.